This entire exercise of destroying our economy while we rely on a totally power crazed government to make the right calls is going to go down in history as one of the greatest failures ever. It's not because the state made poor decisions. It's not even because the state is incompetent. We all know our ruling despots, namely the ANC, are dedicated to destruction, starvation, and poverty. This has become abundantly clear. Or at least I hope to make it abundantly clear. Praising Cyril ain't going to help you either. He's a loser, a political tenderpreneur, a guy who happened to have the right political connections at the right time. But here's the ringer, dear Karen. He cares about you as much as the toilet paper he used this morning. I'll tell you what the issue is with South Africans. We have lost, and I mean totally lost, the mere idea of freedom. We rely fully on state validation to make those freedoms a reality, or to even take them away clearly. We allow corrupt, vile snakes to sit in their glass towers and look down on us and pass judgment on us like demigods throwing fire and lightning down on us. We sit by and idly hope for better days while we blissfully carry on with our days inside our insulated bubbles, reassuring ourselves of our well-being with every sip of red wine and budget speech that we know has become progressively dystopian. But yet we justify it because we sit and say things like, well, I'm really not interested in politics, or why do people get so wound up about politics? Well, the unfortunate thing is that politics influences your life, whether you like it or not. It trickles down to you like sludge from a toxic waste site, and still you lap it up because politics is just so negative. Then your brain becomes infected by the toxic waste as your commupolitan government eases its way into every aspect of your life. Until one day you wake up and you are Pinocchio, a puppet. And there's no way of becoming a human again. You have become a beast. And you report your neighbor to the police for made-up laws that you never pause to think about because your life revolves around appeasing your overlords. Because you want to win the Snitch Olympics. There's no prize for snitches and kiss-asses. Let me digress. Fellow South Africans, I love my country. I truly do. My family has a great history in this country that spans back to the 1820 settlers. But just as they faced the great frontier, so do we as a country. But there are some serious concerns for me. I love my country. I, however, do not love what we've become. I'm positive about the future. This is a watershed moment for South Africa, and I look forward to the results because I know we'll pull through this. But Mark my words and listen very carefully to this. Allow this moment here to be the last time we ever put our future, the future of our families, the future of our families in the hands of the state. Let this be the first time in the history of South Africa that we change things properly. I know we can do it, South Africa. Let's make our children proud. People often get upset with me that I don't support the President and the African National Congress in this lockdown. So let me tell you this and why. I have never supported them. I never will. This is not a new fad I've just discovered because I'm bored during lockdown. I've understood the ANC for years. I know their entire driving force is the National Democratic Revolution. Learn those words. Know those words. Remember those words. Let me explain exactly what it is. So the NDR is a revolution based entirely on the evil Soviet Union and Vietnam Communist North. The socialist revolutionary states that are responsible for the execution and starvation of millions of dissidents, peasants, and citizens. The ANC, along with the real puppet masters pulling the strings, the South African Communist Party, actually visited Vietnam in the 70s to learn how to conduct a people's war and how to overcome a far superior force with tactics that can only be described as despotic and evil. What is a people's war, you might ask? Well, folks, a people's war is a war where instead of using ammunition as expendable weapons, people are used. A woman and a child have a higher caliber. This means that when a woman or a child is killed supporting the revolution, they result in more media outrage, amounting to more damage done to the opposing side. This exact model was deployed here in South Africa during the ANC struggle. They basically eliminated all political opposition until they were the only option left. Thus, they took power. There was nothing democratic about it. Now, the ultimate goal of the People's War, and by extension the National Democratic Revolution, is to usher in a new dawn of communism and Marxist-Leninist socialism, bringing about a utopia of communist breadlines and police raids for spreading fake news. Sound familiar? Well, it should. This is the ANC's ultimate goal, folks. It's not new, it's never been forgotten, and every single ANC cadre is dedicated to it to their utter core. So the NDR is a process of gradual nationalization of all industries, leaving the entire country at the mercy of the seizure of the means of production. The theory behind this abomination is deeply rooted in the Leninist idea of the so-called industrial exploitation of the workers. The idea is to create a market completely regulated by the government, while placing specifically chosen cadres in positions of power so as to maintain control of the business sector under the guise of the economy becoming transformed. I'm sure you've heard that word a million times. You see, not hiding it. So a transformed economy is not really a bad idea if you transform it into an economy that can function without the bureaucratic red tape. I mean, the hammer and sickle type red tape this government uses. But alas, the government hates poor people, so it wants to keep people poor. So what do? They steal, plunder, ruin, and corrupt their way through the taxpayers' coffers, the same way every good revolutionary does, all the while building an endless army of useful idiots, feeding the few chosen ones fat bellies with the latest Gucci fashions and the swankiest rides, while their citizens, the very people who put them in power, starve to death in food lines, hoping that one day they too will get their transformation handouts. This is why I don't support Cyril, and I never ever will. I support freedom, liberty, and the right to choose. I support the reason you live the way you think you do. I support hope for a prosperous South Africa. And I support not backing down to communism and the National Democratic Revolution.